Mind you, most 8-year-olds don't worry about personal security, but the world is a dangerous place and the playground can be rough. And if you want to go down the slide first, you're going to have to fight your way in, right? So I think that's really, why do we do it? Because judo to me is as real as it can be. And that goes fundamental to, we're not doing paint by number. You know, it's like, is it art if you paint by numbers? No, it's not, right? So is martial arts is the same way, where you're doing rote memorization. If he does this, you do that. No, that just, and certainly not in a heated situation, certainly not in a randori session. It doesn't work. So in judo, we teach them how to react, and we train that reaction and to find those opportunities.
Is there anything better than a trip getting ready? Nope. For a long journey where our podcast released a new epi, searching for a fade fiend, new fixation. Giving this a subscribe is the same sensation. Started with the day ones, they gave us fuel to support the season. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here for a reason. Notification bells, text some friends, all to let you know. Check your Bluetooth, connect, talking with Donato.
Welcome in, everyone. Episode 66, Judo Know What Hurts Me, with our guests, Glenn Macias and Dario Alvarez. You know, when I think back about it, Dario's going to be like, bro, why didn't I get top billing? Because, you know, A comes before M. And the answer to that is, Dario, I am more afraid of Glenn than I am of you. I just wanted to be transparent.
It's the quiet ones you have to worry about. You're right.
Did I not brush my teeth or?
So for our listeners, before we even get started with this, I want to go and let you guys know something. Some of our listeners have kids. Some of our listeners played youth sports. These are your coaches that you had when you were growing up. You remember that coach that you had that was so patient with you when you were that bad kid? Well, I got two of them right here. These gentlemen have such amazing patience with children that are not even their own. I am a youth sports coach, and I think I could be better when I see how they work with the big groups that they have. My groups are never as big as theirs. And that was the intro that I wanted to give you gentlemen. We're going to get into some accolades, and please don't be humble. If you have a 10-second pin, we want to know about it. This is not the time to hold that stuff to yourself. So let's start alphabetically. See that, Dario? Came back. Dario, see, although you didn't get the top billing, you got the first chance to speak. So anything you say, follow it after this. Glenn's got to come back and clean it up. So the pressure's on him now. But we're going to lead off with you, Dario. I hope that our listeners can turn into viewers, because if they don't see this most interesting man alive look that you got, I'm so envious of the hair. Is all that natural, bro? Are you using a filter?
No filters. And you know what? Filters are just the worst thing. They give us, they make people, they turn people into things that they're not. So no filters here. This is the beauty that is Dario Alvarez.
That's a good life, brother. It's a good life.
And you know that quip they always say, beauty before age.
Yeah. Glenn.
Look, see, he's already looking down. He's already doing the eye rolls.
You didn't deserve that. You know what? He's taking notes.
He's taking notes.
Notes. And when he sees you again, I hope I have live cameras going in, because there's about to be a black belt fight. But Dario, we want to know, who the heck are you? Some of our listeners already know, and a lot do not. Where'd you grow up? To start.
Oh boy. Okay. So first, this is the second time that I've been on a podcast now this year.
No.
So I haven't shared that with you guys, because that other podcast is for a totally different audience outside of judo. It's another aspect of my life, which revolves into judo and just how I grew up. But this is the second opportunity, and it's fun. I enjoy it. So a lot of things that I did not like in that podcast personally that Dario does. I was born in Argentina. My family immigrated to the US when I was 6 years old, and my brothers and I and my sisters grew up in an environment where my dad was very, very macho. My mom was pretty subservient. We grew up first boxing, learning how to box. My dad fought a lot when he was a kid, and he instilled that macho mentality in us and learning how to box first.
Yeah.
One of the things that kind of separated me from my brothers and sisters is that I had a lot of interest toward the martial arts, and I started doing taekwondo when I was probably around 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I did that for a little while. And as Glenn and I have experienced with kids, really, really impatient. You know, they want to grow quickly in whatever they're doing, and they hate seeing either other people advance ahead of them because they've been in it longer. We don't see that as a kid. We just, oh, he got a belt, I should get a belt. And so I was really impatient as a kid, and I didn't stay with taekwondo very long. I got into Kempo karate in high school or middle school and into high school, and I got my first black belt at 17 as a Koshin Kempo practitioner. And at 17, I started judo. I had a martial arts friend that had a taekwondo and judo club that was part of the American Kyukido Federation, Grandmaster Sukbyum Park in Billings, Montana. Billings, Montana, of all places. We had a world champion judoka. This is Grandmaster Sukbyung Park. I think now he still holds like an 8th degree black belt in judo and a 9th degree in taekwondo. And Grandmaster Parks had this federation that he had started. It's like in our judo world, USA Judo or USJA. These are federations that govern judo and curriculum and how we advance people through the ranks. And so Grandmaster Sukbyum Park started the American Kyukido Federation. And I trained judo under Terrell Bracken in Billings, Montana, and went up through the ranks there. The problem is that with American Kyukido Federation, it is not recognized by the main governing arms of judo in the world. USJA and USA Judo don't recognize the American Kyukido Federation for the ranking. So I had gotten my black belt through the American Kyukido Federation, and as soon as I started teaching judo outside of Montana, I didn't have that ranking recognized by anyone. So when I met Glenn, and it was just moving, I got my black belt. I moved away from Montana. I started teaching judo because it was a way for me to keep active in the art. Yeah. And I remember starting at 21, just teaching it on the side. I'd find people that, hey, you want to learn judo? I'll teach it to you for free. And it was a good way for me to stay active. So Key West, Florida, I formed a small group and taught my friends and some people at a rec center. And wherever I would move, I would form a club, a free judo club, to be able to stay up with my skills. And when I moved to Texas, I had been teaching in Round Rock, Texas for a number of years. And I was working out of the Clay Madsen Rec Center. And this old guy walked in and said, hey, can I do judo with you? And so I met Glenn, and we both had the same idea of what we wanted to see judo become. Yeah. And we started talking, and Glenn proposed an idea. Hey, why don't we start this club here in Austin, and we can teach judo. We can make it a program that's available for all. And I remember thinking, nope, that's not going to work. And so I was not really. I mean, I wanted to support the idea, but it was hard to see it growing to where it's grown now.
You gave me a lot there, so I gotta ask: is it the city, like going down into the city? What were your expectations of the city? I thought Austin was weird. there should be some eclectic people there? Did you think it was what are you talking? The diversity was not enough. The diversity of thinking.
No, I think one of the things, I mean, we'll probably get into it a little bit, is that the U.S. is not a country that values what we are offering as a sport.
Oh, I know.
The number one sport, Donato, in the U.S. is
basketball.
Let's talk about Texas.
Oh, football. Yeah.
Number 2.
Basketball, probably.
Basketball. Number 3.
Baseball, easily.
Okay, so we've got all of these other sports that are America centralized, right? That's what we do here in the US.
Yes.
And as we talk about judo, most people will never know in the US that judo is one of the most popular sports in the world. Everywhere except here in the US, judo is going to be right at the top of the list. And I think that's one of the big hurdles that we face here in Texas and just in the US, is that people don't hold the same value as a sport in judo that they will in football, basketball, baseball, tennis, soccer, above judo. So I think that's one of the hurdles that we faced going into building this club here in the Central Texas market.
Now we're going to come back. I got jokes, but Glenn, I want to just set that base for you first. I'd like to know your background on where you grew up, because I've got some tidbits that we got to launch from going forward. So Glenn, I'm gonna take a guess here, and I'm gonna guess you grew up in Detroit. You seem like a Detroit player, and you just ended up in Texas because you followed the Mississippi River. I don't know. I mean, that's where we're going. Glenn, what's your background? What's the story?
Well, I'm Texas born and bred. I'm native San Antonian.
Oh, wow.
My father was career Air Force.
Okay.
So I was born at Wilford Hall Medical Center.
Cool.
Yeah. So I grew up a Catholic schoolboy on the west side of San Antonio. And so, like Dario, I share a beginning in Taekwondo as being sort of the first martial art, circa 1974, right? 75. I found a police officer that opened a Taekwondo studio. And I think, and true story, the Taekwondo studio was right next to the bar that my dad would go to after hours. So he's like, hey, there's a club opening up, right? And so I think it was just $25 a month. And so my dad signed me up for a while. And I really enjoyed it because, Chuck Norris was just hitting the scene. He wasn't even a sheriff yet, right?
No.
He was still black belt Chuck Norris, right?
Yeah. Who got beat up
he was still jumping through windshields, right?
Yeah. He got beat up by Bruce Lee. I think that's all we knew him by at that point. He lost in that Roman Roman building to Bruce Lee.
So karate wasn't even an Olympic sport yet, but that was my first taste of martial arts.
Oh.
And being the youngest of 6, and then having to walk the streets of San Antonio in an ROTC uniform, I had to learn how to fight. And I won't say which one was worse, the older brothers or having to walk through downtown San Antonio in an ROTC uniform. But both of them were perilous journeys. Perilous, right?
Okay, for those who don't know anything about San Antonio, Glenn, why would I go to San Antonio to visit?
It's wonderful food and wonderful people. It is a very nice place to visit. And a nice place to grow up.
Help me out with this. I had about a week or so ago, I had a lady from El Paso on, and I've heard this since I've lived in Texas. San Antonio thinks they have the best Tex-Mex. El Paso thinks the same thing. Who's got the best?
You're going to lose a lot of audience from El Paso right now.
Yeah. Oh, I think San Antonio has a rich cultural history with Tex-Mex because it is definitely the intersection of Tex and Mex. You know, one of the things I say
there was a war fought about it. I don't know.
They don't do empanadas like Dario's, right? This is true. This is true enchiladas, true tacos. It's good stuff.
I was going to get back to a few more things. We're going to come back to Dario. So growing up in the 70s, you said 74, 75. About how old were you in 74, 75?
Are you talking to me or Glenn?
Oh, for Glenn.
Okay.
74,
I was 8 years old.
Okay,
Not born yet.
So you are the Bruce Lee influence generation. I feel like that hit you hard, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I made my own nunchucks out of broomsticks. You know, I mean, come on, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you couldn't do anything with a nunchuck, could you really call yourself a martial artist?
No,
I know.
You know, exactly. So,
and if you hadn't knocked yourself in the nuts at least 5 times, could you call yourself a martial artist?
No.
True. It's a true badge of honor.
Yeah, yep. those are the points. All right, so I'm a little curious here, Dario. I wrote the note, but I got to get to it now. Are you telling me that you went straight from Billings, Montana to Key West, Florida?
Oh boy, yeah.
It sounds like you were running from something. How many warrants? How many people are after you?
Oh, I wasn't quite running yet. No, no. My family moved from Argentina to Billings, Montana. The influence there was I was born LDS or Mormon.
Yeah.
And so the Mormon church had a lot to do with us moving to the US from Argentina.
Uh-huh.
And when I'm divorced now, but I met my then wife at 15 years old. We were freshmen in high school, started dating, got married at 18, and right away started in my sales career. And I was working for a chain of pawn shops, still in Billings right now, First National Pawn. And I'm not giving them any props. This isn't a call out on First National Pawn. No.
Yeah.
But
the whole Billings group there.
Right.
Oh, we hate those guys.
What was interesting though is I met my boss, the owner of First National Pawn, at judo. And this is kind of cool because it's one of the things that we can talk about judo as a whole. It is there is no limiting factor on age, size, gender.
Yeah.
Judo is for everyone. And you've seen, Donato, in our program, we have people from as little as 3 years old all the way up to 70 some years old.
God bless you, a 3-year-old.
Yeah. My boss, the owner of First National Pawn, was 65 at the time when he started judo, and I met him at my judo club.
Whoa.
At the club in Montana, the American Judo Federation club, and he and I got to be friends. Me and a small group of judoka, we would talk all the time. We would do some. I mean, we had so much fun as a judo family in Montana. But this particular individual invited me to come and work for him, and he owned this chain of pawn shops, and he had one pawn shop down in Key West, Florida, where he would send all of his trainee managers to go and learn how to run their own shop. And so I moved with my wife, who was then 7 months pregnant, went down there for a tour of duty of 1 year and learned how to run my own shop there. So that's how I got to Key West, Florida from there. And then from there back to Montana for three years. And then from there to Utah, Texas.
Oh my gosh. Glenn, you literally are running a studio with a reality show star. Like he could be on Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
I watch Pawn Stars because it's so fun. It's like, oh, yep, I know what that guy's going through. Yeah.
You remember? It's bringing back memories. Glenn,
Well,
I want to go back. You're a military brat. Hope that's not offensive to you, but are you able to call cadence? Do you know how to march? Like something tells
yes,
me you got them skills.
yes, I can call cadence, and I've got some skills.
So
Uh,
have you ever thought about? I used to take karate. I used to do kung fu, and sometimes as a group we'd go for runs. And yeah, we would the young kids with the old people. You ever thought about jogging? We were in a shopping complex for kung fu, so we ran around, and that was a great opportunity to call cadence. You ever thought about running around the complex, getting the kids out there, breaking those lungs open, and making them call some cadence there?
yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna note to self. Yeah.
Oh man, I just ruined it for
See, the
all those
problem though,
kids.
Donato, is I think he'd make me do a lot of push-ups though, because I don't. That authority thing is just.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
I'm bringing
Glenn,
my whistle. That's it.
Glenn, he can't show you up while one, you're singing, and two, he's got to stay in formation. When that left foot hits the ground, we want to hear that Alvarez sound. Glenn, you think he's got the rhythm to keep up with you? I feel like he's gonna mess you up. That's just my opinion.
No, I just want to see if he'd give me a deal on a chainsaw now. With what I've learned.
That's the
I've got
good
a
stuff
slightly
right there.
used chainsaw. Give me your best price. I
Glenn,
gotta
what
buy
do you think?
mats.
What do
You
you
gotta
think
make
his
some money
shtick
here.
is? He seems like the guy. Do you think he's the start low guy, or do you think he's the hey, I'm your friend guy? What's his angle? What do you think Dario's angle is in the pawn shop?
Oh, this will be interesting. Let's see it.
Oh, he's the Stark Low guy for sure.
I think Dario, you are the hey man, I'm your guy. Like I know where you're coming from.
So you're not off, Donato. One of the things that was interesting about working in that industry, in the pawn industry, actually helped me to become a better salesperson.
Oh.
You've got guys from all different types of cultural background, just diverse people coming into a pawn shop, trying to sell this golden cup that they think is gold, that they hold a lot of value to whatever thing that they're bringing in. And all you see as a pawnbroker, as a businessman is, or what you're thinking of, what is the least amount of money that I can give this individual, yet keep him happy and have him walk out my door and come back and be a customer again. So it helped me to learn how to deal with irate people and to try to put myself on their level and get them on mine as well, which then helps people like me and Glenn to learn how to get young minds and young adults and adults that think, oh, why am I doing this? It helps us to associate with them a little better and get them to understand, right? We learn how to teach with that type of experience. So I know I appreciate all the things that I learned at a pawn shop.
Glenn, he hit a good point there. All right. What's your preference, Glenn? Do you like the old guys to come in or the young? Because I feel like an old guy is like shrimp. We call it a shrimp. What we gotta do? Shrimp. What is that? Man, I don't see the MMA guys doing that. Like, no, man, I feel like the old people, I think that we would be more impatient, a little bit of what you guys have mentioned already. And we want to hurry up and learn how to do the Conor McGregor stuff versus a kid and their energy. What do you prefer, Glenn?
Well, prior to meeting Dario, I really didn't have any, not only interest, but I didn't have any experience teaching younger kids.
Oh.
So I grew into it sort of organically. I never had an ambition of running a club.
Yeah.
But in order for me to continue my judo, and I started under Master Sergeant Renee Zeelenberg at Alamo Judo in San Antonio. And I think Alamo now didn't survive the pandemic. Renee's up in years, and some of the team just broke apart, right?
Yeah.
But we started at a YMCA. We were a small group, but my experience started becoming instructional when I was at the University of Texas system, Hook 'em horns.
Hey.
No, you're from Montana. Don't do that.
You don't get it. Wow.
You don't get it, right?
They don't accept you, Dario.
Yeah. I've seen your passport.
I'm a Texan now.
Submit your birth certificate. So as at the University of Texas, I was there as a green belt and ultimately earned my brown belt. But every semester we'd get a group of students that would come in, and they're white belts, and they were college students.
Yeah. Tremendous
aptitude, tremendous intelligence, and they'd be like, "What do we do?" So I just started modeling what I knew from Alamo Judo, and sort of kind of got baptized to help coach, because there was a complete need, because these students were looking at us saying, how do we do this? How do we learn? So it really forced me to start thinking about, well, how do we teach it? But I really, until you teach children how to do it, then you can come back and say, now I know how to break this down into the singular movements that then will become the developmental skills to give you good judo. But absolutely, adults are impatient. They want to start throwing right away. And we kind of give them a taste for that. There is a set 2 or 3 throws that we give them a taste of, so they learn how to do it. But fundamental and foremost, we learn how to fall, which is
Donato, I think that might be something that Glenn is really good about doing this. What the heck is judo?
Yeah.
And how do we differentiate between that and karate? Hit it, Glenn.
Glenn, please help us out with that.
So one of the first things we have to level set, right, is parents say, right, there's no kicking or punching. And then I often ask the trick question about, is judo a sport or a martial art? And so it's a trick question, because it is both, right? Our origins are in traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. Our origins are fundamentally in unarmed combat, right? That's our origins. What Kano did as an educator, as a college professor, was to sanitize judo. And I've got all the academia to prove it, right? Falling Hard and Bruce Stegner's books and all the books on judo, and we can talk a little bit more about those, is he sanitized the sport of judo and gave it a sport. He wrapped a ranking system around it and a merit system for youth and education. So he was a big follower and a reader of Confucius. He embodied the behavioral moral codes of the gentleman that Confucius modeled. And to me, that was something that was very, very important, because it's the difference in MMA between Dario and I with regards to good sportsmanship and out and out brutality and behaviors, right? And so to have one and not the other, right? So that's how you temper the physical aspect of it, and you just don't beat people down and destroy people and break bones and do things where we want, right? We show throw after throw, we get right up. They sting a little bit, but we get right up. Safety is important. Taking care of each other is important. But getting the win is equally important. That's why we do what we do. Try to make people fly and smash them into the planet,
Meet the
so
earth.
I'm a little curious, gentlemen. What happens when, Glenn, when that Steven Seagal era hit? I'm sure a lot of people confused what you did and had an interest in. But what happens when the popularity of MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, very different from what you guys are doing, how does that affect you guys? Do people come to you and then they find out, oh, you guys have a ground game, you guys have chokes? Because I feel like when we started off by talking about how unpopular judo is here in America, a lot of people just don't know that you guys have that. Could you start, Glenn, with just kind of explaining what does MMA and BJJ have as an influence on the popularity of judo?
Well, I think the biggest sports star that added value to judo and the judo community is Ronda Rousey.
Boom! He got that alley-oop.
Right, because and I see some of the comments, and I've talked to people that followed the sport, and I saw UFC come to rise. I still have them on VHS, right?
Oh,
so
those days.
So we'll do a watch party sometime. If I can get a VCR out of pawn, then we can have a watch party.
This guy. That's
someone make the
right
popcorn, and then we're good to go.
Came back around.
They say, well, yeah, she got beat up. I was like, she spent her life as a judoka and an Olympian, even before she stepped into the octagon. So,
Yes.
That's not to say that she was past her prime, but she lived her life at the top of her game as a judoka. And her mother is a wonderful contributor to the sport. She challenged him, trained under Jean LaBelle. So you got to go back to the Jean LaBelle days and understand what he was trying to do for MMA and for judo. He'd go out there in a pink gi, which we got to get Evelyn's gi to Dario and just dye it pink. I got a red sock, and I'm going to sneak the red sock into Dario's laundry, and so he can wear a pink gi, and then we'll throw him out there to fight the best MMA fighters.
Do that.
Yeah,
you got to do it.
So people come. We get a lot of cross training people with kimonos that come from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because we all know, and we have to admit, right now Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is riding the wave. They're on top of their game. There are franchises now, national embodiment of franchises for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But, we're still judo. We're still going to do what we do, right? So inversely, they are 80-20, 80% on the ground, 20% standing. We are more equal, more to the inverse, where we're standing and then we've got 20% on the ground. We can finish on the ground. And all of the top Olympic athletes have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches. And we choke, we armbar, and, we submit in the same regard. We just have different safety. It's a different set of rules,
Dario, I heard a story that you were in a fight. And in that fight, you beat another man with something called a bow and arrow choke. Come on, Dario, you're making stuff up, man.
Okay, no. I think you did hear that wrong. No, it wasn't a fight. It was a tournament. It was a match. Yeah, no.
All right, a match, a fight. It sounds the same to me.
No, I mean, Glenn and I have both competed as adults. I competed as a child through, I was 17 when I started. So through early adulthood into my adulthood, competing in tournaments. As far as like the real world scenarios using martial arts, I've only had very few situations where I've had to use martial arts to defend myself or defend somebody else. And it's never like a Steven Seagal movie. I wanted it to be like a Steven Seagal movie, and it never turned into that. Because
not even once.
Not even once. I mean, the most there was one high school situation which was a Steven Seagal movie. It was Bruce Lee. It was all of these 5 different actors. You name the actor, it was that kind of a scene.
What?
But that only happens once in a lifetime, and that's just because you don't know any better about how to defend, really, or how to well, that's the main thing. You get hit in every fight. There's no fight that you're going to get into that you're probably not going to leave that match or that altercation without having something done to you. And I think that's the thing that we don't recognize, that the real world is much, much different than what Hollywood shows us. Yes. And these matches or these fights, these altercations that we get into end that quickly. And they should, because if they're going on into MMA, 5-minute rounds, something's wrong. You're not doing it right. You both probably don't know what's going on. In situations where Glenn and I would use self-defense judo to protect ourselves or others, these matches will go much quicker. Hopefully, if we know what we're doing and if we're aware of what's happening around us, it'll go much quicker because the other person most likely does not know what they're doing, does not have the experience that we do, and we'll be able to subdue hopefully that person relatively quickly. And it doesn't ever have to get to the point of there's blood everywhere and it looks like a crime scene. More often than not, I've had an experience where it was a movie theater and some unruly kids were being stupid and ruining the event for everyone. And it wasn't me throwing somebody through a balcony. No, it was just putting them into a hold where I escorted them out of the theater. And it's as simple as that. Small things that we take from all of these big lessons that we learn in judo and karate and aikido, whatever, and we apply it into this small little situation that doesn't involve us having to be wiping blood off of a wall.
So for the listeners, I'm glad that you went there, Dario, because it just sounds like it's such a fake term, bow and arrow choke. It doesn't sound, but I know you guys, my words, you guys keep it real. You guys are giving the kids the Japanese words, the translations. And maybe you might say bow and arrow choke, but you guys are in there saying Seo Nagi. Like you got these kids counting to 20 in Japanese. I even heard your 3-year-old can count to 20 in Japanese. That is the authenticity that a lot of people just don't know. I'm just kind of curious. Why y'all doing that? But that's just a higher degree.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, wait, real quick. The name in Japanese, Okurieri Jime.
That sounds better. That sounds better. Why would I even say bow and arrow choke?
I don't want to start Joe Roganing terms here, right? So I'm going to give you the Japanese translation. Because if he says hip toss, I'm going to hip toss him. All right. That's bad back and all, he's going down. All right.
Yeah.
But let's talk about keeping it real.
Yeah.
Right. Because what we see out on the internet, and we're not trying to denigrate because we've trained in other styles.
Yes.
But keeping it real is important because, and I think that's really what continues to differentiate Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is it has to work. Yes. It has to work. And so using the scientific principles that are laid out for us in judo of, balance and, throwing and inertia and weight and pivot, all of that, judo has to work. It can work and it has to work. Because if you give somebody something and you're saying you're going to defend yourself, it really doesn't work.
Yeah.
So now, mind you, most 8-year-olds don't worry about personal security, but the world is a dangerous place and the playground can be rough. And if you want to go down the slide first, you're going to have to fight your way to get there. Right. So I think that's really, why do we do it? Because judo to me is as real as it can get. And that goes fundamental to, we're not doing paint by numbers. It's like, is it art if you paint by numbers? No, it's not. Right. So is martial arts the same way, where you're doing rote memorization. If he does this, you do that. No, that doesn't work. And certainly not in a heated situation, certainly not in a randori session. It doesn't work. So in judo, we teach them how to react, and we train that reaction and to find those opportunities in those reactions is judo, right? So after we spend maybe a week with an adult and we give them 3 throws, I'll ask often, what's your favorite ice cream? Of your 32 flavors of ice cream, what's your favorite? Mine is Rocky Road, right? Okay, great. We've got more throws than Baskin Robbins has ice cream. We've got 40 throws. So we can throw you left, we can throw you right, we can throw you any direction under the sun, right? So that's the takeaway. Why judo?
And I
think
really
found
appreciate
judo
what
to be
you
the
said
real
there.
answer.
Glenn, I really appreciate what you said there, and now I want my Christmas gift back.
Too
Because
late.
that paint by numbers, that took me time. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
No,
it did seem like it
It's a
offended him
horse.
there.
It's not a donkey.
You saw
right?
my
It's-
face, Donato. I was upset. You know what? Taking on what Glenn said there, though, he's exactly right. I loved how he said it has to work, right?
Yeah.
We see. I was in Koshirio Kempo Karate. It's and I don't know if you remember. So back in the days of movies, like who were the big guys? Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme. For me, Jeff Speakman. Jeff Speakman was my guy, and that's how I started into Kempo karate. Everything was so fluid and fast, and I remember learning my techniques as I was doing Kempo, and I thought that as I was doing Kempo, there is nothing better than Kempo. Kempo is it. It is. There's speed, there's agility, there's fluidity, there's ease of motion from one to the next, and I thought there was nothing better until I got on the ground with my friend Terrell, who I was swapping martial arts with him. I was teaching him Arnis, Filipino stick fighting, and he was teaching me judo, and we would swap martial arts, free class or free class.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I'm really good at Kempo. I'm really, really good. And I got down one time on the ground with him. I was done. I had nothing. I could do nothing. And I think that that's something that judo has helped me to understand, that there is value in every martial art. But if you are lacking in how to do stand-up versus ground, you're deficient. There's something, you're missing something. Yes. Judo was able to help me to feel confident in my martial art because I could start standing up and go to the ground and continue. I wasn't dead after hitting one point in the altercation. Yeah. So it has to work is a big aspect of any good martial art. It has to work. There's a saying that most judoka will recognize: Seiryoku Zenyo, maximum efficiency. Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo, made this the term that all judoka should recognize, and we'll teach all of our 6-year-olds how to say this in Japanese eventually. But Seiryoku Zenyo is a concept of maximum efficiency with minimum effort. Oh. So we're not there to confront force on force. And as we teach our kids, especially our little guys, Glenn and I, when we're teaching somebody that young, we will show them, if me, Dario, big guy, is faced up against Sensei Glenn, and we are just pushing and pulling back and forth, who's going to win? The easy answer for the kid is going to be Sensei Dario, because he's much bigger, he's got more mass, and there's just more energy there. And what we teach, mass, thank you, Glenn. And so what we help our kids to understand is this concept of maximum efficiency with the minimum effort. Any person that is smaller than you can throw you. Any person that has less energy or less strength than you do can throw you. It's just a matter of applying principles of physics and momentum to your advantage. And judo is something that is amazing about teaching a child that regardless of how small, how big, if they're a female or male, they can throw anybody. And we have one of our kids. I'm not, there's this little girl named Ludmila. I don't know if you've heard of her. And Donato,
like a pretty name.
It's a pretty name. She's got some fuzzy hair and she is a phenom. Now, I'm not doing this to give you props, Donato. If you guys don't know, Ludmila is Donato's star pupil. She does everything from BMX. I think she skydives even now. I don't know. You've got so much stuff going on.
But she flies the plane and jumps out
and
of it.
jumps out of it and flies back and like skydives back into the plane and then lands it
safely.
Yeah. Well, wow. I mean, Glenn and I are we are starstruck at how amazing this little girl is and will be, because she is able to understand the concept of how to throw and applies it with very little instruction. So those are the types of kids that for us are like, we got to keep building this. We got to keep that fire lit because they will be spectacular. And she's not a big girl. She's wiry. She's got strength, but she's not a big girl. And she is taking down BJJ kids that have been doing this a lot longer than her. And she's incredible. So this maximum efficiency, minimum effort ideology is something that she gets without having to really. We don't have to beat it into her. She gets it. She understands that. And we love finding kids and young adults and adults that get this concept and are able to apply it without a whole lot of help from us.
Yeah. Now, gentlemen, I gave you the congratulatory intro, but now I got jokes. I got to make fun of it. I need to know what y'all's hobbies are. Please tell me your hobby is not dealing with all of these bad kids, my words, because they not your kids. And I know you got to lasso them and throw them in headlocks sometimes just to get them to stand up straight. So, Glenn, what do you do in your personal time? Tell me, what is your hobby? What do you like to do personally? And if it is teaching the kids, that's great. But like, what do you do? What's a hobby?
Clean my garage.
Yeah.
So I can do judo.
I understand.
When I get occasion, I tinker with the vintage motorcycle. I've got an early 80s Kawasaki that I tinker with. I keep it running, go around the block, put it back in the garage. That's pretty much it. Yeah. That and judo. I mean, judo is both, hobby and hustle and, everything else. And it's therapy for me. So it's a little bit of both physical and mental.
I got to give you guys props. I don't know what y'all got going on in your lives. I think I did know that Dario was in sales. He also mentioned that here. Glenn, I haven't had as much chance. I don't actually remember what you do, but I got to admit, you guys are coming in, and a lot of people don't realize this as coaches, especially mentors with mentees. Don't nobody care about what your day was like.
I think they're Mentos.
I know y'all are toast at the end, but like y'all come in smiling and you guys are always ready to put on a good face. How hard is that?
It really isn't that hard. I'm not faking it. I enjoy being out on the mats.
Yeah.
If I could do it more, I would. Now at this point, doing it 3 and 4 times a week, between the 2 program sites that we have going on, which is great because, in the first years, we got together. There was a half a dozen of us, and it was 1 day a week. And so,
that's painful.
Yeah. And then
you got to wait. When you can't wait for next Tuesday. When Tuesday's over, you're like, man, I can't wait to get back here next week. And it takes forever to get to next Tuesday. Wow, that's torture. Oh.
Yeah.
So when you say that you like to do it, I like what you said. So I have a military background, and all of the old retirees that retired before I did, they always tell me, young guy, I want you to make sure you don't end it with any rounds in the chamber, as we say. No bullets left. Fire them all out. So to hear you say 3 or 4 times a week, I really like that. I really like that you are contributing that much to the young people, to the old. And for our listeners, I think y'all didn't just hear what he said. There's over a 30-minute driving distance between the two. From your downtown Austin location and you helping the kids out in Georgetown, I mean, that's a considerable distance. Glenn, so with the drive time and 3 to 4 times a week, how much more would you like to grow? Like if you got another 30 kids and you got another 20 adults, would you say that another 30 kids and another 20 adults, would you turn it down?
No.
No.
No, we're trying to build the program now. We're fortunate that people are trusting us and that we are growing. 2023 was a good year and has been a good year for us. So we're seeing record numbers on the mats. I'd have to give free tacos and free barbecue away to get over 20. Now having over 20 people on the mats is commonplace. We now had over 30 on the mats. And the program up in Dario.
So Dario, when I started this by asking him about the distance between being in Austin and 30 plus minutes to drive out to Georgetown, hustling back and forth between y'all. Are y'all both driving Priuses?
No. I live up in Gerald, which is north of Georgetown. Our program in Georgetown is much closer to me now than I used to be down in Round Rock. So for me, it's actually a relatively quick drive down, but going down to Austin, yeah, it's a trek. Glenn lives in Round Rock too, so he's not too far from us. I think where we see it being a burden is the parents. These parents that have these kids that are active in the program and they want to keep them in the program, they want to support them. It's hard for them to drive as far as they do sometimes. And so what we've done with our program is we've tailored it so we're trying to take as many excuses for the parents to not come out and train with us. We've made it affordable. We have the lowest tuition than any other martial arts that's in our market.
Yes,
Donato,
sir.
I think right now for a typical fee for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu studio, it usually starts at around $130 a month.
Yes, sir.
And obviously they go 3 to 5 times a week, which is great. But $130 can be a lot of money for families. And what we've tried to do is we've tried to make our program affordable for all families of different types of incomes, and we've made that accessible to everyone, I think, with the program that we have. We're a nonprofit. Glenn and I make zero salary, zero money income in this. I think Glenn takes a little bit for him. Oh, is he back? Oh, sorry, Glenn. Glenn, I was saying that you and I, we have made ourselves millionaires in doing this program. We've structured the program so that it's affordable for all families of every income type, and we don't do it to make any money. We do it for the love of judo, to try to grow the sport of judo in this Texas market.
Sorry, Glenn.
If I may, that's an important point, because I told you how I started karate and I took a couple of belts. I got a green belt in Taekwondo, but the school had difficulty. It closed down. And so financially, my parents' father couldn't really afford it. It wasn't affordable. The other schools in my neighborhood were very far and they were very expensive. So to a family, it was difficult for me to continue training. So I didn't find additional opportunities until I found some rec center based programs that were sort of structured that way. So when we got around to wanting to grow the program and do some things and to contribute to the community, I didn't want to exclude everyone. And so once Dario and I aligned on that, we found middle schools and high schools where we started marketing that, we have to find a balance between be self-sustaining, right? And not being a daycare, but also, we're doing it with the commitment, to the value and the gift that we're giving the youth. So that's really, part of our commitment to, growing youth sport.
I think that's the yin and yang of your guys' relationship. That's what works, because I think the jet-setting, amazing hair Argentinian dude, only one of the rich families from the wealthiest parts of Austin suburbs. And I'm glad you, being a real one, Glenn, as the young people say.
Did you pay him then?
On the west side of San Antonio, like see, there it is. So you understood.
Donato, did you see how he did that with his hand? He had to use his other hand to it.
I did.
That's because judo has broken every bone in our body over the years.
Yeah. I just thought he was out of practice. I think if he was back on the west side of San Antonio right now, they'd be like, okay, we waiting, bro. We waiting for you to throw up that sign. It's taking you forever.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, I like that because I want to just tell you that quick story as it relates to me, for our listeners to understand exactly what y'all are doing. 3 kids growing up for me. I never went to bed hungry, but there were Christmases where I did not get a gift. There were birthdays where I did not get a gift. Don't cry for me, because my parents loved me and they worked great. My dad worked 2 and 3 jobs. It was amazing. But there was an optician that my mom knew his dad. He taught karate once a week for free at First Street Baptist Church. I don't mind giving them the shout out, because they opened up their gym. They had a basketball court and allowed him to teach a free karate class. He grew up in a lower income area, and he thought, let me give back. Now, this is what I learned. Well, I did hate having to wait until next Thursday. But what I learned when he took us on those runs I told you about, it was incredible as a young 5th grader, 6th grader, when I see Dario, some old guy, and he's running, and I'm starting to see that over the months, I'm starting to catch him, until the day that I finally passed Dario in a run. The confidence that I gained. I went on to run college on scholarship. I went to college and I ran track on scholarship because of that first class, because I learned about confidence and not quitting and working hard, and that I was a good runner from a karate class. And I always tell that story when I accepted awards at cross country meetings. Tom Kirkland would always get a shout out for that. So gentlemen, I want you to know how we turn out. Now that may be a threat, because now y'all are like, oh crap, they're all gonna turn out like you, Donato. But you guys, long after you were done cementing this legacy, I want you to know we will still say your name like I did from a gentleman that I encountered back in the 80s. And Dario, I know you're not old enough, Glenn and I's age, to understand, but yeah, in the Stone Ages back in the 80s, that's when things were happening. I want to also say this other quick thing, the range that you guys show, to be able to be in, you guys are inner city, you guys are in Austin on 12th Street. If it's got a number, that's inner city. Now, you guys then are out in Georgetown and Round Rock. Come on. Something tells me the hubcaps aren't getting stolen off of Dario's Prius out there in Georgetown and Round Rock. So that shows the range that you guys have. And I wanted our listeners to not only understand what you're doing by keeping it affordable, but I wanted them to understand what your range is. That's what I wanted to offer you guys.
I think, Donato, one of the reasons why we're so diverse in the areas that we're covering, downtown Austin to Georgetown area. One of the things that has made our program successful is we partnered with agencies or school districts or programs that value what we're trying to bring to the community. When we started in Round Rock, when I was teaching in Round Rock, I partnered with the school district, and we had one principal, Travis Mutcher, who was pivotal in getting our program put into place with the Round Rock ISD. And then we were there, I think it was 2013, maybe, Glenn, when we started with Ridgeview Middle School. And as our program continued to grow, he moved in as the superintendent. And we were able to, we had 1 year where we had to move from one school to another. And we called and said, hey, can you help us out? Is there another school that would find the value that you found in our and it was literally within a week, we had a new location that we were able to move to. And so finding the right partners to work with has been really, really instrumental in helping us to grow. Glenn was able to work with the Austin, City of Austin Parks and Rec Department to find the right, person that would see the value behind our program. And now we're working with the City of Austin. We've got more programs that we're looking to branch out into. The Boys and Girls Club in Georgetown is working with us now, and we probably gained about 10 kids just in the first couple of weeks of going out and doing a demo with Boys and Girls Club. And now our program is just booming there.
It's doubled in size.
Having good partners. Yeah, having good partners that see the value in the program has been really helpful for us.
So thanks for that, because you actually took one of the points I wanted to talk about. This is why we're here. I think you guys are amazing. You're electric. I wish we could hang out because you guys are amazing dudes. And I had to get you on this podcast. I wish getting you at episode 66 feels like I cheated you guys, because in my mind, I wanted you guys to be one of the first. But here's what I can say. The teamwork, I hear what you said about the partnership with others, but I want to talk about the partnership of you two. If I can give you guys and our listeners just another opportunity to see, when I switched to Kung Fu, I was in karate. That one time a week was free. But when I met a gentleman at church, I met a gentleman who was starting his own Kung Fu studio. Once you see Kung Fu, no disrespect for karate people out there, your boy wasn't coming back. There was no coming back. The fluidity, I was
beautiful.
Old. Yeah. And so I switched over. Most of you guys, most of you senseis, teachers, you ain't good businessmen. And that's why these places fold up, because you lead with your heart and not with your business acumen. And to that point, my Sifu, as he's called, I know my dad bounced the check about 3 times to this gentleman. And he never made me feel like the poor kid. I don't think I was poor. All the financial purists out there are like, bro, you was poor. Your dad bounced the checks. But he never made me. He told my dad, okay, yeah, don't worry, we'll work that out. Make sure. No, he still keeps coming, because my dad was embarrassed about it. But he never made us feel away. I could still come. And I haven't had my Sifu on this podcast yet. But it's things like that. Now, his studio ultimately did not last. It is not still going on. And it's probably because of stuff like that, because he was helping people like me to still come. I don't want to say get off the streets. I don't want to make this sound like I was going to be the leader of a gang, but those are the things. So for you two, I just want our listeners to see, I think one of the reasons, in my opinion, you guys are such a success, because maybe you want to be bigger. Glenn said, I'll take another 30 kids and 20 adults. But I think one of you is probably better at the marketing. One of you is probably better at the inventory and the business part. And not many people are going to do that. Y'all are both black belts. And sometimes we let our ego get in the way. I want to be El Jefe. I want to be the lead. I want top billing, Dario, even though I put Glenn first. I'm not changing it, Glenn. But how do you guys do that? How do you guys make this work and get the ego out of it? Because it doesn't show. I'm not saying after everyone leaves, y'all put the mats back out and y'all fight it out. But how do y'all make this work?
So I think as we, having that balance of ego, Glenn's ego is huge, and my humility.
Where you're going?
And my humility, it balances us out.
Yeah, I see that.
No, Glenn is definitely the guy that knows how to run the books and keeps us straight. I just recently got my first credit card from Glenn, and I've already maxed it out.
Oh, so, where the party at? Where the party at? Yeah. You got the card.
I think what has for me, when I ran my first martial arts school, I was 18, and I started my own business, the Alvarez School of Martial Arts. No, I still have the patch. I still have my
t-shirts left.
What's that?
Are there any t-shirts left?
No t-shirts. We didn't have the money to make the t-shirts, but I did have patches. And what I found is that when it turned into a job for me, it took the fun out of teaching. And I think that's something that we've been able to maybe help with this, even though this is a business, nonprofit or other, it's still a business, and we have to take that into account because our time is valuable still. Even though we're not making any money for it, we got to make sure that we've got money coming in so we can buy more safety equipment, buy uniforms for kids that want to try it out, and keep the program running, the marketing. And Glenn does a really, really good job of keeping those things, working for us. I'm not the money guy. I don't think Glenn ever wants to throw the books my way because I'll lose.
No thanks. Glenn's not saying it, but his lack of comment is saying it.
There's two key points about the inclusivity of judo, how we've managed to thrive and survive in Texas against baseball and everything else, but also that social economic aspect, because as we want to inspire youth to be their best and to do their best, right? That gifted child is not necessarily going to be living in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of democratic.
Yeah.
To be able to give everybody that opportunity. Because, good experience or bad experience, coaches have a very centered focuses, some coaches, as to what they can do for them in terms of their team sport. Well, judo, you put on that judogi and you're on the team.
Oh.
So everybody is allowed on the mats. Everybody is entitled to that right? And so that inclusivity of judo, including a lot of kids, that have challenges, and those are often the most rewarding. So whether you're a recreational player, non-competitor, competitor, national caliber athlete, everybody has to have that opportunity.
I like what you said there, the inclusivity. This is where we go into a promo. Sorry, listeners. All right, look, I'm coming to you guys. I used to be an amazing athlete, and I'm gonna make the excuses. I'm a dad of 3 now. I don't get to cycle as much as I want to. I'm a little heavier than I used to be. But Glenn just said I get to be on the starting lineup, that Dario's not going to put me on the bench. So I could come out and I don't know anything. I don't have any ground game. Those you guys are accepting those people that maybe waistline's a little thick.
I take that phone call all the time, and I say, hey, well, my kids are in it. It's okay. I'm a little older. Can I come out? And so as I'm talking with them and I say, oh, really? How old are you? And they say, I'm 42. I'm like, I'm 57 and I'm on the mats.
Boom.
So
take that.
So I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yeah, that excuse is done.
Yeah.
What's cool about the other aspect of that inclusivity, he's talking about parents and adults. For our kids, the kids that we see come in and that we find the most rewarding aspect of teaching is the kid that didn't make the basketball team or didn't make the football team or doesn't feel included because everyone's bigger than him or they have more ability in that in that particular sport.
Yeah.
When they come into judo, everyone is on the same level. They all learn the same thing, and they can all become really exceptional players of judo, because it's as much as we make it a family atmosphere in both teaching and learning of the techniques. Every student is there trying to make themselves better because they're going one-on-one with somebody. They have to learn the techniques for themselves so that they can go out and compete. So it's a great sport for kids that don't feel that inclusivity in others, basketball, football, baseball because they didn't make the team, or just because, you know, it can be a little cliquey in some of those sports. So this is a nice aspect that we were able to push on with our kids.
Gentlemen, I don't know what the demographics are in your adult class, but I'm going to say this. I bet you don't have a lot of women, as in the majority. I bet you don't have 3 women that are size 0, less than 110 pounds. And I want to know, why is that? And how can you change that? I'm just going to offer it. Are you guys sure that you're not fighting against the stereotype that this is just a jockish activity? And so that size 0, less than 110 pound gal wouldn't even consider it because she thinks, oh, I got to be huge. What would you say when I say you probably don't have a majority of ladies, and what you going to do about it?
Well, we've thought quite a bit about it. You know, we lost one of our founders, Rebecca, who was a female black belt, but
she just moved. We didn't lose her. She moved.
I thought Dario left her somewhere in Key West.
Exactly. So she moved away, raising her family. She's busy professionally, but we lost her in the club. But yes, the encouraging thing there is, as Dario was with our competitors in Dallas, as you know, Donato.
Yes.
We were overrepresented with females, both juniors, at the national competition.
Oh,
and that was amazing.
So we had
First
like
time
half a dozen girls there.
Y'all making female ninjas out here?
We are making female ninjas.
So that being said, when I looked at the adult class and I'm staring at 25 males from, you know, brown belt on to white belt. So there's 20 of y'all and there's only 2. So less than 10% of the class is female.
Yeah.
But they were 90% of our competition team at the national level.
Ooh, come on, fellas.
So really, where's the machismo?
Yes,
where's
I know.
the grit? Right? You're letting all the female doing all the competitive work.
Listeners, are there any of you out there?
I gotta drop 5 kilograms. You know,
Yeah,
and get back on the mats.
Feel like I feel right now. I feel like, man, the guys, we dropped the torch. Like we were carrying it into the Olympic state and we dropped it, because now I want to be your Huckleberry. I feel like we got to get out there and defend y'all's honor, especially rep against those ladies, because 90%. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's an amazing statistic to lead with.
So what we're doing is, right, the investment in the youth program is inspiring and motivating them and giving them the confidence that they need to step onto those mats fearlessly and do the best they can. Rain or shine, win or lose, get them out on the mats.
So then can I offend you both by saying, in that same vein, the most popular judoka in the world is a female, and it's Ronda Rousey? Can I offend you by saying that?
No.
I think she's got a lot of popularity still. I think there's one more right now that maybe got a little bit more props that we can give. Kayla
Harrison,
Kayla Harrison.
Look her up. She's still taking her trek through MMA.
And we've got a lot of females that are just amazing judoka.
Marty Malloy.
Marty Malloy. Both, you know, nationally and internationally, females are. I'm scared to go against the majority of the females out in the judo sphere right now.
Yeah.
So if she asked you, Dario, what are you gonna say?
You got a Nina, one of Texas.
Nina Kuto-Kelly. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been on this pod.
Now there we go.
And I missed it?
Yes, you have.
What episode was she?
Let's call her. I'm calling her right now.
Yeah.
Somebody text her.
It was an amazing episode. Man, yeah. She's she literally is gold, pun intended.
Yeah, she's the real deal. She's the real deal. I think we need to bring her. I think we need to bring her out to Round Rock. I think that will help the girls, give some inspiration. So we can easily host her. She goes over to Cooper here in town quite a bit. So we've got some ties to her. She comes out of Herbeck's club in San Antonio, Universal Judo.
I've seen her. And for the listeners and for you two, I mean, you already know, you already want her. She's good with kids. She's an Olympian. Yeah. She is one of the best in the world, but she is still a great teacher with kids. I have video evidence. I saw her with a 5-year-old, and she was working on the grabbing and pulling that you guys do to pull people in. And the little girl pulled her off balance. That's to your point, Dario, as far as you were talking mass and energy. But she had so much patience with a little girl who was the youngest, smallest, the only person in a session that she was in charge of. You don't have to do that. You can cater to the 30-year-old and the 40-year-old dudes back there that are doing multiple disciplines and maybe drove in from, but that shows her range as well. So shout out to Nina Kelly.
Yeah.
She's great. She gets that from Jim Herbeck. He's great with kids. You shut up or I'll beat. No. Jim, I love you.
If she would have slipped and done that once, I still wouldn't have judged her, because I would have been like, hey, you're going to get this tough love. She's an Olympian. But she didn't even do that. Yeah. So she's normal.
She's good. I think that's the thing with teaching kids, though, is we've got the problem of focus with kids. Yes. There are very few kids that can start at 3 years old, right? We've got Alada, your daughter, I love her. She is just amazing, and she is very focused. And we don't see that with kids that young typically. So that hurdle is something that we've always got to overcome. Is what can we do to keep this engaging for them? What do we got to do to keep them focused on judo? And so we've always got to incorporate fun activities with judo principles. Games that involve judo principles, things that keep them physically and mentally engaged, so that they can keep learning at every aspect of the hour and a half or 2 hours that you've got them. And it's difficult at times, but that helps me and Glenn to learn how to better our coaching game. Is we deal with these hard kids, and
we were discussing that, game theory and development and use in that, and I borrowed a lot from my wife. Props to my wife for putting up with judo for this long. But she was an educator, as was Kano was. But we borrowed game theory and development from the military and their training. So incorporating sumo and tug of war and climbing ropes and these games that we play are all to add to that physical engagement, because we want to disassociate any anger and the emotion of the physical match to I'm upset about getting thrown, and get it into a very controlled environment of they get used to, because we tell don't get in fight, don't get in fights, don't get in trouble at school, don't fight. But then we're here in judo and we're saying, grab him, throw him, grab him, push him. Yeah. So we have to, slowly incorporate. It's okay, because he's not really trying to hurt you. He just wants to win, but he's going to throw you on the ground. He's not upset at you, but he's going to throw you on the ground. Or she.
Here's an observation that I have seen. I coach youth sports. I'm going to tell you, when Glenn starts to act bad, I pull Glenn off to the side and I'm going to say, hey, you want to go over there and sit next to your mom? Because I'm not dealing with it. You go over there and you sit with your mom, and we're going to keep on moving. I haven't seen you guys do that even once. Not even once. How the heck are you guys doing this? Are y'all saints? Is there a halo that you guys take off? Is it attachable, detachable? How do y'all do this?
So Donato, we are lucky that we are in a sport that when you choke a 6-year-old, it looks like you're teaching. So you can be in all seriousness, we do have to do that sometimes, Donato. We have 30 kids that we're trying to coach and keep them progressing in techniques or whatever aspect of judo we're teaching that day. And if we've got one child that we are having to take away the attention from the big group to focus all of our attention on them, getting them back in line, sometimes that can be detrimental to the whole class. So we've had to do that before, where we pull somebody aside and we at least make them sit out for a little bit until they're ready to come back. And it's just like, you put them in a timeout. And
as an educator, the conversations I've had with my wife over the years, who spent her time with 30 kids, day in and day out for 8 hours a day. And, right, you're taking away from the other kids. So there's a sense of community that the class belongs to the class, not one individual.
Yep.
So you have a responsibility to stay in line so that everybody can continue in the class and that we can continue doing what we're doing. And so we have to put community and class over the individual at that point. Likewise, you can't really learn judo by yourself. You need others. You need partners. So you have to treat each other with respect. So you start going around doing that, sooner or later, that's going to come back on you. So
we're coming down the stretch here. I want to start with accolades. Gentlemen, tell me something. You know the good stuff I want. This is for the bros out there that are listening. This is where, don't be humble. No, the guys that are listening to this section, they don't want to hear it. Anybody got like a 10-second pin, a 15-second pin, or anybody upset, some red belt that came in from Argentina and you put them on your back and you're like, who's the real Argentinian? Like, give me the good stuff. Tell me some of that action hero stuff you did in I won't say fight, Dario, in a match, controlled environment. But yeah, any experiences that you guys had? You know what? Let me back that up. Even if you did have to use this for self-defense in real life, I'll take that too. But any superhero stories, accomplishments you guys have? You hurt yourself and still finished and got a gold or even a silver, or anything you want to offer us?
Glenn, you want to go first or you want me to?
No, actually, I'm going to give Dario kudos. I think the last tournament I saw Dario fight in was in San Antonio at the Alamo Classic. Ooh. And, he did a great job. He won medals in that. He won on the ground. He won with some throws. And so I was really, really impressed. So he did a great job with that. I think really for the club now, and not for me, because I'm not a big competitor, but we've had senior athletes that have taken national awards, and we've had junior athletes that have taken national awards. So the club has done really well. We've produced a lot of athletes, but we don't have, I don't have any trophy cases, right? Those are individual awards that are won by those students.
Yeah.
And we herald those and we hold those athletes up, and we want to use that and inspire more.
Yeah.
But competition and what it does for people and myself, it's not just about the medals, but absolutely, so.
Yeah, no, I like that. I always wonder though, if when you guys are doing this, Glenn, so you said that you're not like focused on competing. Good for you. Because I don't know if I want somebody choking and throwing and flipping me. But do you guys push it so that the kid, as a retention tool, so they can go out and they can see it, they can compete, and then they could say, oh, this works. Now I get why mommy's been bringing me here all this time. I was this close to a medal. I didn't get a medal. Oh, I'm working hard because now I want to go get a medal. Do you see it? Do you see the usefulness in that way? Or do you Do you use that already?
Absolutely. Now, we've got some youth, right? So our competitors are a percentage of the class.
Yes.
Right. And so absolutely, for those, once you posed an interest, right, once you want to play that game, then we're going to try to give you every tool possible to win.
Yeah.
Then we have to start looking holistically at strength training, weight training, conditioning, diet, strategy, tactics. And we do that cooperatively. We have several people in the club. We'll review video. We'll talk about it. We'll use their performance analytics and really try to do the best job we can so that they can be successful. But fundamentally, and we got to be all in with parents on what page they're on, what they want to do, what they want out of it. And because pushing is good, pushing too hard can be bad. And so I want to make sure that, because, you know, I want to look at the big picture. And the big picture is sometimes at some point, whether it's teen years, prom, or college, they may walk away from judo. But I want judo to be a good experience, not so much for the future of Kokoro Judo, but also for judo's future. That someday they'll return their kids to judo, or their nephews or nieces to judo, and they'll return to judo. So judo's got to be a good experience end to end. If there's some point they want to walk away, at some point I have to let them.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate doing it sometimes, but I think about those things. Likewise, you know, winning isn't everything. And if you embody yourself into that, you know, the value, you miss the journey. You miss smelling the roses along the way, and the community and the sense of community that it brings. You know, some of our, you know, youth have continued their judo into their college years. Dario's got a couple of students that are at that other Texas school that are doing judo because they have a university level judo program. I was excited to hear that one of my early students was doing judo at the University of Texas, you know, so he returned to judo, and really that's all I could ask for. He still sees value in judo, and I had him at 8 and 10 years old, so that's great.
Wow. So you didn't scare him off.
Didn't scare him off, you know.
Dario Action Star Alvarez, I mentioned it earlier. You confirmed that rumor that I had heard is true. And I'm sorry, I didn't remember the Japanese name, so I'm going to go back to what I know it. So you did do a bow and arrow choke on a guy. When you guys have all of this knowledge, when you're a black belt, when someone calls you sensei, which is like the coolest thing ever, how do you make that decision? In the moment, did you say, oh, there's an opportunity, or did you like, I'm going to get this boy with a bow and arrow choke? Like, how does that happen?
So for our little guys, you know, we have them concentrate on their key technique. Ludi, Osotogari, she's great at Osotogari, major outside reap. And so we drill them on making that something where they can do it like that. They don't even have to think about it. Glenn and I, especially Glenn, since he's been alive a little bit longer, he's got a lot of techniques that that just and I do too. We have techniques that just come like that because it's like breathing. You don't think about it. You just do it. And we want judo to be that way with everyone, where you don't think about, oh, I'm going to do this technique next. No, you just react. You have to adapt. Judo is an art where if you plan for A, B, C, or D, you're going to be very disappointed because that's not real world. That's not real life. And so when you have practiced enough and you've got techniques that you just automatically fall into, these things, you know, you see the opportunity immediately and then you act on it. The bow and arrow choke, okuri erijime. The bow and arrow choke was coming from my partner was doing drop seoinage. It's a drop technique from an ippon seoinage, and he just happened to try it, and I moved around, and my thumb was in a high collar position, and it just, oh, there it is, and you just react to it. And I had already damaged my knee.
Wait a minute. You had a Danielson moment?
I had to get surgery after that tournament. That was my last tournament. That was where my wife at the time had said, you know what? We've had 3 back surgeries, and now you're going to have a knee. I think we're done competing. And so that was the last one. I went out on top though, but it was one where, yeah, you react to the situation and you move. Hopefully we can get all of our students to get to those points where they don't have to think, they just react.
You had a Karate Kid moment. You were limping and you had to pull out the crane, or in this case, the bow and arrow.
Ralph Macchio, he was ready to do the crane from the beginning. And see, no, that's not, nope. He was preparing for that one the whole time.
You're right. But
not adaptation.
Yes, you did. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
All right. So, gentlemen, like I said, we're about to stick the landing. Just a couple of little points of value. Glenn, what you listening to nowadays? You taking that long ride down into the city to go teach a class? What music are you playing? What's the west side of San Antonio transition to now? What's on your playlist?
If we always start our Newaza session, generally speaking, I've got Bob Marley playing.
Oh,
yeah. So I like, now there are some, there's some Public Enemy moments, right? There's some Public Enemy,
Yeah.
That'll fire things up. So it kind of depends on how the week went.
And Dario, for listeners, I'm going to say, I just need you to know this. We are officially international with this podcast. I had a lady from the United Kingdom on, just recently, and she speaks Italian, French, English, and also Dario, the previous interview, that gentleman was a 3rd degree brown belt in Kenpo karate. So you're not even the coolest karate person I've had on this week. Just need you to know that. But Dario, you said you live out in Gerald, Texas. So for everyone else, they don't know where that is. I think you made it up trying to sound fancy. And I don't even know how many L's that has, how many R's that has. It's okay, bro. We don't really want to know exactly where you live. But from that long ride from Gerald all the way down into Austin, what are you listening to?
I'm a big podcast fan. Last podcast on the left is my go-to. There's a new podcast that I just started listening to. The one with Jason Bateman and for Pete's sake.
Wow, I didn't know
you're gonna have to use those 5 seconds.
Yeah. No problem.
Dave Matthews Band. There we go. Let's just go with music. Dave Matthews Band and last podcast on the left.
Okay. Smart Lips with Jason
Smart
Bateman.
Lips. Bingo. There it is.
Got it.
Smart
Okay.
Lips.
I did not know about that. I'm going to check that out there.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Super funny.
Okay. So this is a separate question for both of you. I'm going to go with cool points. So we'll start with Glenn. Glenn, I see what I did there, Glenn. What would your peers say to describe you? Other black belts, other senseis, other people in your professional capacity. What would people say to describe you?
Well, I don't know. I haven't read the Reddit lists, so I'm not sure what's out there. And I've already had to ban Dario from that. So
I troll the crap out of him.
He's already been banned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So really, I really, on the mats and in my meetings, my technical professional career, I really do try to keep it fun. Right? Hard work is hard work. People think I'm a lot younger than I am. you know,
No
because
complaint.
66 was a great year for a Mustang.
Yes, it was.
And it was a great year for me to be born. So that kind of puts the math there.
Yeah.
But people come, you know, they're like, I thought you were a lot younger. And I'm like, no, it's just the immaturity. But come on, you know,
Yeah.
let's get on the mats. Time to go.
No, my older sister, I'm a middle child. My older sister was born in 68. So no, I wouldn't. I don't consider it old. But I mean, yeah, she's older than me, but no, that's good. Yeah, it looks good on you. Well done, sir. Dario, what are the streets saying about you? What would your peers say to describe you? If you've seen it, heard it, what do you say there?
Kind, charismatic. I like long walks on the park. No. Funny.
Yeah.
Funny and easy to get along with. I love making sure that
See,
we're always
that's
having
his
fun.
lie detector.
Yeah,
That's my blood sugar saying, "Hey, buddy, you're a little high right now."
perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Okay. Separate question for the both of you. I'll go in reverse order. So I'll give the guy with the lesser cool points a chance to go first this time. And oh, by the way, listeners, I'm brave because this is all virtual. I'm not in the room with them. So neither one of these dudes are gonna hurt me right now. It's 2023. I'm an internet troll. That's what we do. I'm brave behind my camera, behind this computer. So Dario, I want to know who is the most interesting person in your life, because I believe in the 6 degrees of separation. And what would you do to help me get that person on this podcast? They don't have to be the richest person you know, although if they're the richest and interesting, okay, that's cool. But who is the most interesting person in your life, and what are you willing to do to help me get them on this podcast?
In my life, or that I like to watch, or I mean, because I don't know this person, but Ryan Reynolds.
In your life,
life
that you can touch. They're in your little black book
that I can touch. That's in my
or on your social media.
Yeah. Wow. Because I'm really good, Donato, about like the people that are in my life. I'm involved with them. I reach out all the time. I can physically touch them easily. So, man, that's a tough one.
I've had some people say things. I had an award-winning author who's sold hundreds of thousands of books here, and he's nationally nominated for awards. His was his mom. I had another gentleman that was a podcast, and it was called Your Favorite Uncle, Everyone's Favorite Uncle. And for him, it was the patriarch of his family, an 88-year-old uncle from back in Ohio who dealt with systemic racism growing up in the South and Tennessee. And that one's going to be a 2-hour, a part 2 or part 3 podcast. I can't wait to get him on. Those are just some.
I think I've got it.
Who?
And you inspired me here. I think my mom, her story would be amazing for people to hear.
What?
Yeah, just a humble Argentine woman that grew up in a very machismo culture, who got here without any education at all. I mean, she had basically like a 6th grade education in Argentina, and got to finish her career retiring as the manager of a dietary and housekeeping department for a hospital, and just amazing accolades that she's got behind her name now. And it came from just, deciding that, yeah, she could do this, and she didn't let things stop her. So she's got an amazing story, and I'm still learning a lot of things about my mom. So yeah, I think that would be get her. I'll see if I can connect you guys. And
thank you much. Thank you much. That is going to be exciting. Looking forward to that. Glenn, the cool part and the unfortunate part is I don't get to put you on the spot since I started with him. So you may already have it. or you may still need to think. But who's the most interesting person in your life, Glenn?
That's a tough one.
Okay,
Yeah,
I like that. I like the guest to squirm. That's kind of the other part
that's
of
a
it.
good point. But going back to the club is, because I'd have to include them all. We've had some amazing people come through the club.
Yeah.
We've met people from all over the world. And so for this little Texas boy to, come into contact with all these people, Navid Dabiri from Iran, Nick Maurer, who's German born, grew up in Romania. We've got a imported Canadian, Mark Kopek and his family. So, we've got people from all over the world. Mark Sheshanowski, shout out to Mark. He's Hebrew. His hummus is awesome.
You're teasing me, Sensei. You're teasing me.
Yeah. So
how you gonna make that decision? You gotta give me
that's gonna
one.
be a tough one. So I think I'm gonna do it lottery style. I'll throw them in a hat, and then whoever we pull out, So
then I'm gonna hold you to
that.
I'm gonna hold you to that. You're literally gonna have to do that. We may even have to have that on video, so I'll make that the lead-in when I actually interview that person. I normally start with a promo, but I'll do the lead-in of that, and then we'll talk about why that pod is gonna have that person. So you're willing to, when you make that decision, can we put that on video and you'll give me a name?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Gentlemen, how do we follow? How do we stay in contact on the social medias? How do we get to follow Kokoro Judo and you two gentlemen?
www.kokorojudoatx.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a Facebook also?
Yeah. We do. We do have a Facebook page. We've also got an Instagram for our juniors program, and that's Kokoro Judo Juniors Program. We'll give you the links, and you can post it on the episode as well, Donato.
Yeah.
So we'd love to have people follow us and find out what we're doing.
Well, I asked you guys a little bit about what people say, what your peers would say. I just want you to know how I found. You guys mentioned it. My daughter trains there. I found you guys by word of mouth. It was other black belts. It was other judoka that said, "Oh, these guys." I contacted people all over Texas, in San Antonio, in Dallas. Matter of fact, I'm going to have a Sambo instructor from Dallas that's going to be on here shortly. And all of these people led me to you guys. So that's a kudos to you and to your program, because that means they think that highly of the two of you, and that they think that highly of your teaching style. Because I am involved in youth sports, wrestling, BJJ, and I know that there are a lot of people out there that would not recommend certain coaches, certain instructors, but that didn't happen. I didn't run across it. We looked for Yelp reviews. We're looking for Google reviews, and we found nothing but great things for you. Glenn was responsive. I think I got your phone number and started texting you. Maybe we started on instant messenger, but you were responsive. You were you were discreet, and that's how you got us. So I just want the listeners to know what they're dealing with, that it's not just you guys. What did I say earlier? You guys keep it real. There's no fake here. You guys really care about the kids. You guys actually care about the art. You guys actually are trying to keep it real. You want these adults to thrive. So I wanted the listeners to say that. Sometimes you need a talking head. You need a braggadocious gentleman like me to brag for you guys. But I want the listeners to know that. And that's why I wanted you guys to come on. And I just want to say thank you for your time. This is officially the longest podcast ever for me, and I loved it. I just want you to know this is a threat. I would have had y'all on for like another hour easily. This was awesome, but I'm leaving something on the bone.
Dario completely glossed over his capoeira experience.
Capoeira.
Whatever.
Oh my God.
Whatever.
Oh, you know what? I'm not going back down the road. I'm gonna be respectful of your
Take too
time.
long.
We will have you back, gentlemen.
We'd love to be back.
This was
All right,
awesome. I didn't even get through my sheet here of all of my questions, so that's good. I'm glad about that. So thank you again, Glenn. This is your first podcast appearance.
Yes.
Hey! You're only one behind Dario, so
I'll give you some tips later, Glenn.
You do that. Email them to me.
Yeah, I'll get right on that email. So, hey, thanks again, gentlemen. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks. You.
Appreciate it.
See you on the mats.